non-peaceful situations occurred because what is happening in Syria right now is the Syrian civil war. It started because Syrians are enraged by corruption and encouraged by a wave of Arab Spring protests across the region took to the streets to demand democracy for their leaders. The war started last 2011 and is still going on as of now. There are three main countries that are involved in this war, namely Russia, Iran, and Turkey. Before the war started, environmental crisis also played a role in Syria's uprising. Between 2006 and 2010, the worst drought has happened in Syria, and this made many families being unable to farm for goods. The non-peaceful situations are still not solved, but the group of white helmets are the one who is trying to keep everybody safe and rescue in times of airstrikes and bombings.
After watching the film The White Helmets, I feel so touched and it changed my mind and perspective in a way of showing how difficult the life in Syria is. So I asked myself, do they really deserve this? Why are they experiencing this kind of pain and sorrow? That's why we researched some information regarding this matter. And said, according to an article by CBS News in United States, the civil war was started in year 2011 when Syria was enraged by government corruption and emboldened by a wave of Arab Springs protests across the region that took the streets to demand democratic accountability and ousting their leaders. After then, it eventually becomes a full-blown war, including the US or United States fighting against the terror group ISIS, and Europe supporting the rebels aiming to topple the president of Syria, Bashar Assad. The film changes my perspective by looking at the brave men showing their apprehension and sympathy for innocent victims of this war, even if it cost their own life. It's been 10 years from now and they are still fighting for their lives until now. Just because of dishonest leadership and corruption. Not only me, but all of people must change their behavior in terms of appointing or picking their leaders to choose, because this would be a huge impact for our nation and countrymen's future. That's all, thank you.
Okay, so for the question, why is it important to resolve conflict for the society and its institutions? So for example, the conflict in the documentation that we watch, the conflict is war, where in Syria people are being terrorized by bombs and people outside with big guns shooting anyone and anything that they see move. So that kind of conflict is a conflict that should be fixed immediately, as it heavily affects the people that lives in the area, and the people who run institutions in the area will be affected, and they cannot run the institutions properly, and it will probably crumble and it will be unusable. So if the conflict is fixed and the society will run again, the institutions will thrive and will help society be whole again and be fixed. So fixing the conflict of war will be helpful for everybody, for the people who live there, people who have institutions, and the children who will be running the society.
Being educated about the matters discussed in the film The White Helmets is important. Why? The motto for the movie The White Helmets is to save a life is to save all for humanity. As a student, I think that this movie is a huge lesson for us because it teaches us to become selfless and do what you can to other people in a good way without expecting anything in return. Or in other words, being helpful. The movie also teaches everybody, not just us students, but everybody who watches the film. Being educated is important, especially to students like me, because it helps us to become a better citizens, get a better paid job, and know the difference between good and bad. Education shows us the importance of hard work, and at the same time, it helps us to grow and develop. Thus, we are able to shape a better society to live in by knowing and respecting the rights and laws and regulations.
Is your final stand on the film you watched? The White Helmets documentary show how Syria was unprepared during the war. They should have a conflict plan for the upcoming war for them to save all the civilians. They should have prepared a lot of emergency and they shouldn't let all the people to stay at home because it might be affected of the explosion of the bombs. They should have prepared more before the war because it could save so many lives.